Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brand Lab, a podcast by Pretty Girls Work. I'm your host, Lindsay Tompkins, and I go by the pronouns she and her. I've spent almost a decade building my brand to a six-figure business, and I want to show you how to do the same. There's tips and strategies you'll learn along the way, but remember, the real magic is you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. So last week we talked about some different questions about kind of like digging through the beginnings of our brand and who we want to be and how we really want to make people feel. And today I wanted to get a little bit more into creating your customer avatar. So understanding who your customer is, or at least who you want them to be if you don't really currently have any right now, or you're looking for better ones. Or I don't mean better people, I just mean better customers, people that are better suited for you. And this will all really assist you in determining how your feed should look on Instagram, what your group should look like, how your website should be positioned, what your copywriting and email should look like, and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to get right into it today. But just wanted to also say thank you to all of you that did rate and review and subscribe to the podcast. It means so much. And if you haven't yet, I would love if you could just take 1 second and do that for me. All right, so we are going to talk about building out what a customer avatar looks like. So there's a bunch of different things that you can even Google online, different questions, but kind of like I'd say the basic ones to really answer. And this is going to be another episode where you can like listen and come back to it, or you're going to want to maybe pause a few different times to work through this with me. So the number one are kind of the basics. When we're looking at our customer avatar, we want to look at the demographics as well of who that person is. So what I love to do is to name actually my avatar, because we want to find like-minded people. And so when you can get, and I said in the last episode, we want to be specific, and I mean specific. Okay. So what I do is I actually name my avatar. A lot of people do this, and that way I can always ask myself, is this something that she would be interested in or he would be interested in? And if not, then I don't post it. If not, then it's not the program that I create or the product that I sell. And so if you can get really clear and kind of give a name to them, it also helps you with writing, because then you feel like you're talking specifically to them. Like when I write emails, so in my past business, when I worked with, I had a partner, and ours was named Sarah Johnson. And every time I wrote an email, I kind of had this like customer avatar that I built out beside me, and I would write the email like I was just talking to Sarah. And so I already knew who she was. I like knew what she was interested in, and it made people that were reading the email, even though their name wasn't Sarah Johnson, it made them feel like I was talking directly to them. And it really allowed me to continue to manifest the right type of people when I was putting out that type of content. So number one, what's your avatar's name? Does the gender matter? Are you trying to reach like a specific group of people? You can put that down. What their age is. Are you looking for somebody who is in similar age to you? Is there a different age bracket? Maybe you work with teens, and so maybe your age range is like 13, 14, because all of this will really help too in not only like discovering your brand, but your content as well. So say, for example, you're a teen coach or you work with youth, and you mentor and work with teens, you're going to want to, I would probably suggest you would spend most of your time, you can have Instagram 100%, but also spending time on Facebook and TikTok. And the reason being is TikTok is where you're going to reach those teens, but Facebook is where you're going to reach the parents of teens. So if someone's 17 right now, the parents are likely mid to late 30s, into their 40s, even potentially into their 50s. So where are they? So some may be on Instagram, but also a lot, if you're looking at like the 40, 50 range, they're probably still on Facebook. And if you're wanting to reach the parents of those kids so that they see this, then that's definitely a place that you want to be. So the age does matter as well, and like who your ideal customer is. It will really help you select platforms, and again, how to talk and how you are positioning yourself. And like I said, on TikTok, you're going to talk a bit different directly to the teen than you may talk to the parent as well. So maybe you have multiple avatars as well. Maybe you have, for example, using that teen one, you build out what the teen looks like, and then you build out what the parent looks like of that teen. what their like family status is. Are they, maybe you're wanting to work with like single parent homes, maybe and that may not even matter, but just looking at like, okay, what your family unit sort of looks like, what do you do as a job? What is maybe like your income? Like I know for me, when I'm looking at my coaching, for example, there's a certain somebody who may not be able to afford it isn't going to go into my coaching. And so it's knowing maybe when I do my courses, they're a little bit more accessible, or I do free webinars. And again, who are the people that I'm really trying to manifest and attract into my business? So those are some of the basics of what you want to answer. So that name, like their age, like what are some of those demographics? Where do they live? Maybe that matters, especially if you're a local business, then you want like your local area and vicinity. So say you live in Toronto, you're going to put Toronto, but maybe you also include like Mississauga or Port Credit or Brampton or Brantford or anything like that, depending on, actually Brantford's pretty far from Toronto. So maybe not that, but you know what I'm saying? So you want to look at like, okay, where are they? But if you do something that's like virtual, okay, well, I want that they could be worldwide. But even myself, for example, what's been interesting with my coaching is that I want to attract more people in Eastern Standard Time Zone, because I have a hard time with time zones. And then also my clients who are on, if any of you are my clients and you're on the West Coast, know that I love you. I love you. But it does make a difference, because a client who wants to meet me at like 3:00, which is during like the work day for them, is actually 6:00 for me. Or if they want to meet with me after work at like 6:00 or 7:00, that's 10 o'clock for me. And so it gets really late into my evening, and I prefer to try to do more of my coaching calls during the day. That's something else that I'm trying to manifest more of. And so that's working more with entrepreneurs who have more freedom with their schedule, and because then they can book during the day, because I'm trying to have better boundaries. And I also have a dance business where I teach in the evening, so I don't have that many evenings available. And so it's looking at like the time zones, where do I want them to live, and what is going to best be aligned with me. I think that sometimes we get into scarcity of like, I want to attract everybody, and that's okay, but you can also and should also have ideal people. If you, I don't know where you're at with like, whether you believe in the law of attraction or where you are in like spirituality or anything like that. But I personally believe that what we put out into the universe is what we manifest. And if I'm open to everybody, I'm going to get a little bit of everybody, and that may be okay, but I want a certain type of person that really aligns with my life. And I would love to have more people that can meet at like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock during the day for our 90-minute session versus, being into the evening. And especially time zones do really play a factor in that. So those are some of the things that I want you to kind of like dig into first with those like general demographics. What's important to you there? Another sort of thing that you can ask yourself about this particular customer is, what do they live for? Like, what are some of the topics and types of accounts that they are drawn to? That is like, what types of influencers do they follow? What magazines do they read? What shows do they watch? What books do they read? What, style is their home? Like, obviously there can be a bunch of variations, but when you're looking at content, especially for your Instagram stories, you want to like round those out. And if for example, like the person that I'm interested in is like, I don't know, would really be into watching Bridgerton. Okay. That's what they watch. Then, that's something that you can post in your stories. You can do polls. You can actually, another perfect example of it's Vivian Kaye. She was watching Bridgerton, and she was kind of doing this like episode recap on her stories, and it was hilarious. And it had nothing to do with her business, but it built her likability. And not that she even intentionally did this of like, I don't even think as a branding move, but when you do things like that, it's like you can connect in bigger ways. Also too, when you're looking at what to share. So say in your Facebook group, if you know that people that you're trying to attract all read like Inc. magazine or Forbes, then you can go like weekly or daily or whatever to Forbes online and look for articles that you think they may be interested in. And then to share that, going, okay, I already know that they're interested in Forbes, the ideal person I want to attract reads Forbes magazine. So I'm going to always make sure that I'm pulling resources from them, because they're going to what? Think that I'm valuable. They're going to say, oh my God, like I really want to follow this person and stay in this group because they're already giving me content that I'm interested in. They're talking about some of the same things that I do. And so allowing yourself to kind of break down some of those areas as well. And this isn't like stuff that you, oh my God, I just totally tongue-tied my words there. And I mean, I could edit it out, but we're not going to, because this is my personality. Okay. Slow my roll. I forget what I was going to say. Okay. I remember now. This is not something that you need to go to like Stats Canada or anything for. I don't want you to spend all this time being like, wow, these are like questions I really need to spend time researching. Of course you could, keep an eye on who are some of like your super fan customers. If you have some of those people that stand out because they're always buying from you, yes, pay attention to their social media, pay attention to what they share, what they watch, what they're talking about. So you can incorporate some of those things into your content, knowing I want more people like you. So I'm going to, broaden my content, especially in stories, to be about some of these topics. But at the end of the day, a lot of these are going to be your best guesses. And the coolest thing is that majority of these things and the answers, guys, is going to, and I'm also trying to stop saying the word guys because it's not inclusive, but it's going to look like you. Your customer avatar, spoiler alert, is going to look a lot like you. We talked about in the last episode, you don't want to feel like you're putting on this like front and you're like, oh, well, my ideal customer is interested in, like HGTV or like home renovation shows, but I have no interest in that, but I'm going to force myself to watch it because then I have something to talk to them about. Well, no, don't do that. And you're going to get tired of keeping up with it. And you're not going to even have anything to talk about because I'm sure you're going to put it on and then you're going to stay on your phone and not even pay attention. And so you're not going to have this like well-rounded like opinion or thought or anything like that. But majority of the time, they're just going to look like you. Your customers, your ideal customer is going to look a lot like you. So you can answer this from your perspective. And then another sort of main question to ask as well is, what are they also afraid of? So what I loved about the Me Too movement, I mean, obviously what it stands for, was that it was normalizing stories. Because what happens is there's a difference between like embarrassment or we feel like judgment or, pain or any sort of those negative connotation feelings versus shame. Shame as a feeling tricks us into believing that we are the only ones, that we're alone. That's why it's shameful, because it would happen to nobody else, just to me. And so why the Me Too movement is called that is because when we say into existence, Me Too, shame totally dissipates. Because suddenly we don't become the only ones. And this is where vulnerability comes in. This is where we look and we go, how can I be honest and truthful and vulnerable with my followers? How can I show them that like the reason why I'm standing here, I always say this, the reason why I'm standing on stage being able to train this is because I've failed significantly more times than you. And I've learned from those failures. I've created my business on the back of the solution that I discovered to the problems that I also was having. I've been in your shoes. I've been where you are. And how can you speak to that? I remember when I first quit my corporate job and I posted to my Instagram bio that I ditched the 9-to-5. And I don't talk about it too much anymore because I actually try to work my business now in a 9-to-5. And I also like really want to help people that are like enjoy being in corporate. I don't think that everyone needs to be an entrepreneur, and nor do I think that everyone you have to be an entrepreneur to have like a brand or anything like that. So, but anyways, I put that like I ditched the 9-to-5. I up and quit my 9-to-5. And that really resonated with people of like, wow, like you felt this way. And I talked about like I was feeling overworked and I was underpaid and I was struggling. And then this is what happened. I walked away from an engagement. I was literally 3.5 months out from my wedding and I called it off. And these are things that I obviously like, we don't want to overshare We want to have boundaries. We, want to keep certain parts of ourselves to ourselves. I think that also really aided in me needing to take a break from Instagram, that I felt like I didn't have a life outside of it. Like I didn't keep anything for me and especially for my partner. But there are certain things that you absolutely do want to be vulnerable about. Like I really believe that the secret sauce to success in both business and life is the courage to be vulnerable. And when you can say out loud, I've been where you are, or this has happened to me too, or this is exactly how I've felt, you release your shame and you help others release theirs, and they start to reach out more. Do you know how many people follow you and look at your business regardless of what it is? It could be something like, as simple as like makeup to coaching. Everyone thinks that just coaching is transformative, but every product can be for somebody. And, but do you know how many people watch you on social media or follow you and think like, oh, I really want to work with them, but I need to wait. I remember, this is hilarious, and I've never even actually shared with him this story, but my hairstylist, my hair colorist, I absolutely love him. And I'm so lucky that I got paired up with him when I booked at the salon that I did. I went in not really like knowing any of the artists, but it took me so long to book there because I felt like, oh, I'm not going to fit in. I'm not like trendy enough or cool enough or thin enough or this enough. And it took like seeing different types of people on their account and for me to see who they are, to know that I would be accepted there, that I didn't have to pull up in a Range Rover in order for them to like treat me with respect and decency and to make me feel welcomed. And we think, like, I did a post actually a few weeks, maybe months ago now, I don't know, COVID time. And it said, you don't have to clean your spiritual house before you let me in. If any of you have ever hired a cleaning lady or anything like that, I used to have, not a cleaning lady, a cleaning person, my God, had somebody come in, a cleaner, let's just call it that, a cleaner come in. I hired one, and it was awesome. But the funny thing is, I would clean before they would come over because I didn't want them to see my mess, because there was shame attached to it, even though they are like, but this is what I do. It's funny. I even had that with a bookkeeper, of feeling the shame of like letting them in. And I'm like, because I'm so disorganized with my finances. And they're like, but if you were really organized, you wouldn't need me. Like, this is literally what I do. This is what I see. You're not the only person that's not super organized with their bookkeeping. Like, that's kind of flying by the seat of their pants. Like, this is why I exist. But we get so deep in the shame, and we need to be more vulnerable. We need to share, we need to normalize things, and that all becomes a part of your brand. Remember, there's your brand, and then there's like your business services, and they're very different things, and only you know what you feel comfortable sharing. But I just really encourage you to kind of dig into, what is my customer afraid of, and where are we relatable in this? Because the more relatable you are, the more people will want to work with you, because people, like, this is also not just like a monetary exchange to work with you. It's an energy exchange. And that's really important for them to feel aligned with you and like you line up, but also for you. If you haven't done this, I see this a lot in network marketing teams as well. There's always this like scarcity of, I need to just find people. And so you kind of show up like you're for everybody, and then you get people on your team that you just like literally hate talking to. And this is, we do this as well, like with clients or customers. You're like, holy shit, like I don't want to talk to this person, or oh, like this person is draining me. And that's because you weren't specific about who it is that you're looking for, right? You're trying to be for everybody, and what you're doing is you're tiring yourself, you're slowing yourself down. So if you are also thinking, okay, what is how do I like really connect with them? How do I build this customer avatar even more specifically? Here are some other questions that I want you to answer, because again, like some of these may not even directly relate to what your business is, but the more information is power. The more information that you jot down and that you know about them, the better. So for example, we're going to go through more questions now. Time they wake up. I essentially want you to walk through, this is what we're doing. What does their day look like? This is going to help you when you look at what your programs should look like, what products that you should offer, what you should bundle for a month, when you should go live, when you should post and all that. So what time do they wake up? So say you are dealing mostly with moms, okay? Moms of young children. You know that they wake up super early versus maybe somebody who doesn't, but also because they're waking up, they're going usually into like mom mode pretty right away. So you could, if you say your ideal person wakes up early and they like to get in their coffee before the rest of their family wakes up. So maybe this is even a bit like, having a really like young infant or kids are getting a bit older, then maybe you want to schedule your content for 6 a.m. So when they wake up, if the first thing that they're doing is looking at their phone, which so many people do, is your content going to be there for them? Because the rest of the morning and maybe the rest of the day, they're super busy. They're like getting their kids up, they're getting them ready for school, they're packing lunches, they're like running them to school. And then if they go to work, if you're trying to attract people who have a 9-to-5 job, then they're going to be checking in just periodically throughout the day. But if okay, chances are they're going to wake up first thing in the morning at like 6 a.m. and they're going to check Instagram while they're like going to the bathroom, then is my content going to be there? What do they do first? This is also going to be important. So like I said, if they wake up and they go on their phone, then okay, then you need to make sure that those posts are scheduled for 6 a.m. or that you're waking up at that time. If they are working out right away, then that's not when your content is. Maybe it's like right after. Or if like you're thinking, when should I like release a podcast? Well, if my ideal customer works out first thing in the morning at 7 a.m., then I'm always going to release a podcast like late the night before, so that when they wake up, that podcast is already launched. So I know that during their morning workout that they can listen to my podcast, and that's how I'm going to market it. I'm going to tell people, this is why I did this. Like, run with me. Oh my God. That is... Okay, if any of you are wanting to do a podcast, how cool, I'm sure it's already a name, but that's fine. How cool would like a podcast be that's maybe centered around like success strategies and tips and personal growth and information and that sort of stuff and development, called Run With Me, where you are encouraging people. It's like, this is to listen to while you're working out. This is like how you're going to implement more activity into your day while you're going on a walk, while you're at the gym, and you're getting in some personal development. And you talk about this like mind-body connection, and your podcast is called Run With Me. So it's like, run with me, like, let's get this like actual running, but then also like, let's run together. Let's like chase our life. Oh my God, somebody use it. And if you're going to use it, send me an email, because I want to know and I want to cheer you on and I want to be a guest. All right. So if you know what they do first, then you can start to build your business around that. What do they eat? Break that down. Look at that. Maybe you do something with food and with recipes, and you're like, oh my God, they eat like the same thing every single day, and it's just oatmeal and coffee because like they're busy. Then, you're not going to be like, oh, and here's how you make this like extravagant breakfast. It's going to be like, no, how do you elevate maybe like your oatmeal? Or I stayed at my sister's over the weekend, and how freaking cool. She, her partner is like kind of a quick eater in the morning, and usually just wants like a croissant or like fruit, or will quickly like make an oatmeal, quickly like make a tea, because he doesn't wake up really early, like kind of wakes up a little bit closer to when he has to work, and so he likes to eat at his desk, so he doesn't have a lot of time to cook. So she has this like space that she made on her counter, and she made it like, it's so cool. She made it like in a hotel room, in this little like continental breakfast. So she has this like, it's actually like this rolling cart thing that she has, and on it she has like their Keurig coffee maker. Then she has a little like stand that she puts different types of Keurigs in. She has this like wooden box thing where she has, in some part of it, she has different types of tea. Then she put sugar packets and like Splenda packets. And then she has, one part of it has packets of oatmeal, because there's also a kettle beside the Keurig, so he can make oatmeal. And then there's granola bars. And then there's a little basket of fruit there. And so it's this like continental breakfast area that she created for him, knowing like, it's going to be easier and quicker for him just to be able to grab that. And it honestly looks like adorable. So if you're looking at like, what do they eat? Like, oh my gosh, like these are busy moms, for example, and they're eating either the same thing or they're not eating at all because they're like making their kids and like trying to get everything ready. Well, teaching them to set something up like this, maybe, you sell like, cookware or whatever, or even home decor, you could set that up and say like, and promote that and go, okay, this is how you're going to like grab and go. And you're going to put it near like the edge of like the kitchen before you leave. And this is like really quick and easy for you to grab on your way out. And so when you're looking at like what your customer looks like, it's really going to give you more information. Another question to ask is, what are they responsible for? So what are the responsibilities they have in a day? Do they have kids that they need to get to school, or do their kids get picked up? Do they have to go to work? Do they have to, are they doing like the laundry and things like that? Make that list of like, what are they responsible for in a day? And remember, you can just look at your own life and answer these for yourself. And you're going to start to, what's really cool is you're going to start to see like how your product and business and service even fits into your life better. And then you can have this strong testimony of like, oh my God, like I rearranged my day, or I learned how to better integrate my product into my day based on like my actual schedule. Because people are creatures of habit. And like if your product relies on them to change their habits, you may motivate them in the moment to buy the product, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to use the product or service long term, because they're going to go back on autopilot. So it's like, how can I integrate this into what they're already doing and enhance their experience instead of trying to necessarily get them to completely change? Where are they going in the morning? Are they going to work? Are they going to school? Are they going back home? What do they do? Do they work? What is their job? Kind of like roughly around there. So you can get a little bit more information from that. How long is their lunch? Okay, if their lunch is 30 minutes, should you do a 20-minute Facebook Live over lunchtime? Absolutely not, because they want to eat and they want to like rest their brain and they want to scroll social media. And if they only have 30 minutes, then they're not going to hop on at lunchtime with you. That's not the best place or best time for you to do a Facebook Live. If they have a 60-minute lunch, then you can maybe do a 15-minute live and tell them like, use this 15 minutes. And maybe it's like, this is what you do every day at 12 for 15 minutes. So they're like, okay, I'm going to start my lunch break at 5 to 12. And I watch this for 15 minutes as I have my headphones in, I'm in the workroom and I'm microwaving my food. And this is giving me this like inspiration for how to tackle the rest of my day. And then I have 45 minutes to just let that sink in and to just enjoy the rest of my break. And maybe you're like a self and wellness, like a self-love and wellness person. And then so you can use that time. If you know that people are going to work and they work 9 to 5, well, then maybe they're on the way home. Then maybe that's when your podcast, you make sure that that's launched. So it's for your drive home, and maybe you talk about something like your drive at 5. Okay, like that's why they use that on the radio, like the drive at 5, because they know that people are driving home at those times. And so that's when they're going to have their best shows and they're going to play, the most popular songs and all that sort of stuff. What do they eat for lunch? So same sort of thing as breakfast. What do they do in the afternoon? Are they going back to work? Are they like doing something else at home? Kind of like looking at what is their schedule. How do they recharge? That's another really great question to see, like, what do they do during their downtime? And maybe like, can my product help them with that? Maybe you sell self-care stuff as I mentioned, and it's like, okay, how can I integrate this into what they're doing? Do they recharge with a bath? Then, I'm going to talk about how to like create this like amazing, bath. Maybe I have like a Pinterest board where it's like how to elevate your baths. And it's just all these like beautiful images and photos. And you do this like bath time challenge. That maybe that's how you launch your group. Or maybe if you know that they have a bath every night, maybe that's when you do your Facebook Live and you tell them like, this is to sit in the bath and just close your eyes and maybe you're a meditation coach. I'm going to lead you through a meditation. If you're a meditation coach, definitely doing a meditation in the morning or in the evening is probably best, maybe even one over the lunch break or anything like that. But people don't want to get too sleepy. You never want to go at 5:00 if someone's like driving home and listening to a meditation. That's not super safe. But all these things are pointing to how to really help you build this out. So some other questions: what do they do after work? What do they do for dinner? Again, feel free to pause and write these down. How do they practice self-care? Do they even practice self-care? What do they do in the evening? What do they watch or read? Do they have a nighttime routine? When do they go to bed? How long do they sleep for? So if you can answer all of those different questions, then you're going to be a lot further ahead into discovering how to attract these people and the type of content to really show up with, because the only way to really, communicate our brand is through content at the end of the day, also through our experience, our customer service. But when we're looking at branding, especially being a starting point and getting people in the door, we also need to make them stay. But yeah, answer those questions. And I'd love to hear some aha moments that you guys get back from that. What are some things that you feel like now you're going to change about maybe the way you communicate your product, program, or service, and just what you've been learning throughout this experience so far. So nothing that you really need to hardcore research, but definitely answer those questions, jot them down in a journal. You can even do something really fun and make like a fun Bristol board or something out of like what your customer avatar looks like, and hang that up when you're working. Make sure that this, these answers to this question are easily accessible to you when you are creating content to look back. Like, does this make sense right now? Like, ooh, I'm trying to reach moms, and even though like it's 2:30 and I kind of want to do a Facebook Live, is this the best time? They're picking kids up from school. If that's the only time that you have and you feel energized, then do it. But know that it's going to be a replay, and know that like you're going to do that live at 2:30, but then what? Okay, I know that they typically watch around 9 p.m. That's when they start to slow down. Then you're going to want to promote that live. You're going to say like, hey guys, like just resharing this live here that I did. Or maybe you started as a watch party where you can now comment with them in the captions on Facebook Live, or you download that. That was a weird way to say download. You download that Facebook Live and you post it to Instagram, and you put it as an IGTV and you post that for 9:00. Okay. So you can still do things when they feel good for you, but know like, when do I market them and how do I make this make more sense for my customer? But that's it for today's episode. Make sure that if you didn't listen to last week's, that you definitely do, because it kind of like bridges these two together. I'd say it's almost a part 1 and a part 2, but really exploring the customer avatar. Would love to hear your questions, your comments, your feedback. Be sure to email me at info@lindsaytompkins.com. And if you haven't, I do ask again that you rate, review, and subscribe. It means all the world to me. Let me know if you have any topics that you would love to hear me cover, or if you would love to be a guest on the podcast. Can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. Have a good day.